To achieve this attractiveness and beauty and health, there's like so many different ways people try to achieve it. In fitness and bodybuilding, people think the more muscles they get, the more attractive they become. Everyone is judged by the cover.
We think something particular thing in our looks makes us attractive or not attractive, when in reality, it's how we.
What changed the thing for me and Eero in the last, let's say, 10 years was that we started focusing on the things that actually build real confidence. Like nothing has increased my confidence more than actually.
Back in those days, like even if I had to like talk to a woman or something like that, it was like terrifying.
One of the most toxic and negative habits that can destroy your attractiveness and can destroy your relationships as well, it's the adult entertainment.
If you treat other person really well, you're warm, you're kind, you're generous, how much of a big impact does that make in how attractive you actually are?
You have this scarcity mentality. So you're always trying to get something from others. And this is very unattractive. It doesn't matter who you are.
You always attract something. Yeah. Even when you're like not maybe universally attractive, but you attract something into your life with your actions. So you have a certain like a bait that attracts certain kinds of fishes.
There's something bothering you about the other person. The most common way is to start, complaining and criticizing the other person. Like, why you do this? Why you never do this? Why you did that? Here's a problem, blah, blah, blah. The humble way and the ego-free way is to always.
What do people think as an argument? If I saw people having an argument, it was yelling. Like that was argument. Put out the insults, like raising your voice, and you are aggressive, throwing all kinds of shady bad stuff to the other person. Like that's how people think it's an argument.
Sometimes it's just one way and one way. It's like ego against ego.
Yes.
And it's the one person trying to find the fault in another person and another person trying to fault in the other person.
If I want to make this division between like short-term attraction and the long-term attraction, in the short term, you might be very attracted, especially if a person is like a proper narcissist, they can be amazing. In the beginning, you're like, wow, this is my dream person. Then you realize what this guy really is. So don't we all want to be attractive on one level or another? So whether it is for other people, for the opposite sex, for the same sex, or even just for ourselves, we'd probably like to be someone that attracts people, that is maybe desirable. I think like this is a very like universal quality in people, like trying to be something that is maybe pleasant for other people in one way or another. And this is, I think, also very tied into, what we are doing with the fitness, for example, because, I think you could say that to a great extent, whether you're training for just functional purposes or whether you're training for very like aesthetic purposes, in both cases, you feel, more attractive in some ways. Maybe even if it's just health or aesthetics, in both cases, like you feel that there is something in you that is better than wouldn't be, otherwise, like if you didn't do the training. So I think that like the attraction is very essential part of fitness. And some people, maybe think that this is vanity, and to an extent it can be. Like you can go to the road where you think like all kind of training for aesthetics, for example, and even thinking about what others think, and all the validation, is not something that is maybe desirable at all. Or you might think that is like one of the main things. But whichever road you choose, I think there is kind of this golden, which is like a middle way also, and where you can kind of accept the nature that you are to an extent training maybe become attractive for whoever, but also not in the way where you are abusing yourself in order to become more attractive.
So yes, actually, like there's like a healthy amount of vanity and narcissism. Like it's all good. Like it's not bad by default. Like everything goes bad when it goes to the extreme. But what's interesting is that to achieve this attractiveness and beauty and health, there's like so many different ways people try to achieve it. For example, let's say in fitness and bodybuilding, people think the more muscles they get, the more attractive they become. And some people, they go too far into this one direction. And if you look at like a lot of bodybuilders, like most like women, they don't find the bodybuilding men attractive, and neither does men. Like, or actually, more men like actually more men like the bodybuilders than women do. But even like most like normal men, they think like that's like I would never like to look this way. Like it's just too big and it doesn't look healthy and it doesn't look attractive. But still, a lot of these people they're actually trying to achieve this attractiveness in their head, but it just doesn't always match the reality what everyone else thinks.
Yeah, but that's the question. Like, are these bodybuilders? Do they think that that? Do they think in their head that this is the most attractive versions of themselves? Probably they must be thinking that, because why otherwise would they be going into that direction? So at least personally, for themselves, they think this way. But for this, from my own experience, for example, when I had the more like a bodybuilding phase, and I started to focus on the aesthetics and the looks, and I became to an extent like obsessed, and I was admiring these physiques. But again, I was a man admiring another man. But it's like it's not like not in a sexual manner, but in a way where I see that this is like something really cool. Like that's so powerful looking. That's like something that I'd like to have to like look better to other men as well. Because I just can't remember. I guess suppose like on a certain level I thought that if I have more muscle, some even women may find me more attractive, but I don't think it was the main, for example, motivator for me. And there's a big, like a huge part of that is just gaining status among other men or gaining status among the group of people who are doing this same type of training. But even then, I never wanted to, go to the extreme. Like I thought that I never have to be that. If I'm just a little bit more muscular, a little bit more bigger, that is already enough. So I had like these breaks in my head of what is like good. I never like went to the road where, you get this kind of blindness, I think. The same way if you drive for a long time with like 120 kilometers per hour or 60 miles per hour, and then you go to like 80 kilometers per hour, then you think that you're going so slow, so you get like blinded by the speed. So it becomes this cycle where you just need to get more and more and more. So I think there's actually, because I'm wondering like, oh, why would these people actually do this? And they become partially blind to their own physiques, blind to their own actions. And I think you can say that even that this is to an extent pathological, because you are like kind of like causing harm to your own body while you're doing that. So I don't think, why would you be causing some harm to your body unless there was something not very natural, like supporting some disharmony in your mind that supports this kind of cycle. We just need to be bigger, 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 endlessly, and have this like bulging muscles and veins and everything.
Yeah, I was actually in the same boat that I was also focused on just getting as strong as possible, as functional as possible, and like muscles were not even like my first priority, and even like the body fat, it became like a after, like something I.
So you were in the functional category then?
Yeah, like I was in the strength category.
Yeah.
I was like just trying to compete with others and just get the strongest as I humanly could, and this vanity aspects, they just started to become after, and especially when I started to come more into the public light, and I was like, yeah, I should be looking good as well. So, because people don't know that some people, they can be really athletic and really strong, but if they're like a bit like on the fatter side, maybe they have like a bit more body fat, then nobody is going to like think you're actually strong or athletic, because they judge, like everyone is judged by the cover.
Yes.
So if you have very low body fat and like with defined muscles, then like it's the default like assumption is that you are athletic, you are strong, you are like a really good source of fitness knowledge. So only after I started to realize, oh man, I should be also looking good, like because I'm more in the public light. But before that, I was more focused on just functional results and getting like in all aspects of life, like just getting like results from anything I did. I wasn't interested in looking if I looked the part or not. I was just interested in getting the results. And functionality.
Yeah. And that was the thing that made you more attractive to yourself in some way. So you, like, I suppose, because you wanted to see yourself in a better light, and the way you see yourself in a better light is that you actually are stronger. So you value it more like this, like your own opinion in a way.
Yeah,
I think.
yeah, and the opinion of the in many ways the men as well, because
But men look like, if you you don't need to post you're ripped. You just post yourself deadlifting like 400 pounds or 500 pounds, and then you get the attractiveness through that, I suppose. But it's not the aesthetic attractiveness.
Yeah, and surprisingly, like I would even say that when you focus on the functionality and health, you actually become more attractive for the opposite sex as well, because in many ways these people who focus, like, let's say, for example, because we are men, we can say on behalf of men, like when men focus solely on on the vanity and the attractiveness, like the skin and hair and muscles, and getting this fuckboy look and being just as like aesthetic and as attractive as possible, it usually doesn't even produce the best results. In many ways, even women and especially men respect more the person who's very functional, very athletic, and looks healthy as well. And it's just a different demographic who really respect the more feminine side of men.
Yeah. But when you go to that direction, not just like, we're not just talking about bodybuilding, which is their aesthetics is usually it's purely the size and the mass. But you're talking about people who are like, maybe the term is like more like metrosexual or something like this, or people who, or men who groom like super much, like like you said, they try to make themselves like really smooth and silky with all kind of treatments, and they pick their hairs, and they dye their eyebrows. They maybe like do procedures or something like this, like like really this super like focus on the looks.
And actually, I think especially in the western part of the world, in Western countries, like this is becoming the more and more common thing. Like it's becoming the norm almost, because let's say, if I think of one example, is like the Kino body. Like, of course, he has some good aspects as well. For example, the strength aspect, but it's also solely focused on looking like the very aesthetic and very like a attractive, like a looking guy.
Yeah, that's a huge part of it, and it's like, well, I guess his narrative is that you get this by being strong, but when you look at the way he's training, it's also very simplistic. So, and he clearly states that he's training like the muscles that are most important for the aesthetics, like for getting this kind of frame where you have the broad shoulders and so on, which is not wrong by itself, but solely or having the biggest focus on that, I think, can be problematic. And also, it's not like the promise of you becoming the most attractive is not necessarily even the case there, like for the women even.
And the whole, like the underneath motivation is completely wrong.
Yeah.
Because you're obsessed with women, you're obsessed with other men, like you are not focused on yourself, you are not focused on the betterment of yourself and the self-improvement, like for yourself. Like the main motivation is like upside down in many ways. It's like and that's a big problem, because you're actually looking for validation from the others, instead of like just looking for validation from yourself. Because in many ways, the most attractive person is the one who's just very like how do I say, it's like has like accepted himself in so many ways, and of course he understands that other people care and matter as well, but he's just his own opinion of himself matters a lot more than everyone else, and he's not looking for validation from anyone else.
Yeah, that's where it gets pretty deep and tricky, because you can have like in my eye, let's like some Hollywood actors, right? They don't look something that would be maybe in your universal terms even considered like handsome or necessarily beautiful. But there is a pull to these people, whether it's the charisma or, but it's why they have it is because of how they carry themselves. And like you said, like they've accepted themselves And they even, if they have some weird thing in their looks, their ears or eyes or cheeks, whatever it is, it's almost like that makes them more personal, more personal. How to say, like a more of a like individual person, and they use it even to their advantage. Like you're confident about the very thing that another person might be super insecure about, and this I think also shows in your how you carry yourself. And this is super important to understand because for we think something particular thing in our looks makes us attractive or not attractive, when in reality it doesn't. It's how we perceive how we look. Actually, that is precisely like you said, our own like self-image largely determines, because it also affects then how am I going to act. If I'm insecure about something, then I'm covering, I tell myself, very negative things in my head, and I act like that. I act shy, I act insecure, I keep my posture worse. And of course, you're going to be more or less attractive if you act like this way. And maybe you're even angry about it. Like, you will appear less attractive, but it wasn't because you had the whatever feature in yourself. Maybe you're like, let's say like shorter, that can be a big insecurity. You're a short person and you start to act like a insecure person, you become less attractive. But if you had the confidence and you owned yourself and the thing that you cannot even change, people would also perceive you very differently.
Yeah, of course, like confidence is paramount. It's like one of the most important things, because without it, it doesn't really matter what you do. Because I remember the times, like let's say 10 years ago, like even Eero was still very handsome and like this, but like Eero was not getting good results in so many things, despite he had already like the attractive looks and so on. Because at the time, Eero and I as well, like most men in early 20s, like because we just lacked confidence. So we, like, even though we had everything going on, like we just couldn't get the results because we lacked the confidence.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Entirely. Like that is the absolute truth. Like because yes, I know like there certain, this is always funny to talk about that, but I know that like certain people, do consider me like handsome or good looking, but none of this matters. Like I had one of the worst like confidences like a person can have. And if you want to go there, like back in those days, like even if I had to like talk to a woman or something like that, it was like terrifying. Like, it was like I was the, it's hard to say like where all that comes from, but you need to do like a big analysis maybe. But it wasn't like I could have maybe been like really a baller guy or something like this way, and not even saying that would be necessarily good. I don't think that necessarily is good, but like the way I carried myself and the way I carried myself in social interactions was very nervous and insecure and like doubtful. And I had this like a fear of like being shamed and all. Like, I think many people have these things. But I think what that really brings us is that the attraction, in training, we tend to focus on the, our functional performance or the aesthetics, but the real attraction goes a lot deeper than the looks. It really is in your also the personality. It plays a massive, massive part in how attractive you are, and of course, how you see yourself.
Yeah, and another thing about like lacking confidence is that because people, they give you the solution that are you are not good with women, or good with like you are not attracting men or something like this, and then they give you the solution. But many times the solution doesn't actually, well, I'm gonna speak on the behalf of men again, it's not gonna actually increase your confidence at all. Because in our early 20s, the solutions that we focused on, maybe to fix the confidence, were not actually increasing the confidence. Because when you, like, let's say a lot of these men, they find the like these solutions that promote the like the bodybuilding style of training, and then this, let's say, this over grooming of the body starts to become attractive. But many times when you are focusing on yourself so much in order to get validation from the others, it actually decreases your confidence in many ways. So what changed the thing for me and Eero in the last, let's say, 10 years was that we started focusing on the things that actually build real confidence. And of course, like health and fitness is one aspect. For example, like nothing has increased my confidence more than actually like bulletproofing the joints, becoming athletic, becoming functional, but also increasing my martial arts ability. Like nothing has increased my confidence more than, let's say, wrestling or striking, like martial arts, because they just make you more competent and more capable individual, and you just feel like you are like nobody can like push you, and you have the power, so it makes you so much more confident. But also the other aspects of doing hard things, like me and Eero, we used to travel a lot, like 4 years,
Mm.
and live in different parts of the world. Like when I first moved to China, I didn't speak any language, I didn't have any apartment, and I just learned to survive. I live in very bad apartments in very bad places, and still, and this increased my confidence as well. And so it was like a combination of many things, like getting used to having like women in my life, and also being in relationships, and focusing on the functional and strength and fitness aspects, and traveling and doing business and taking like big risks and big uh, and uh, and things like this. So this actually made the day and night difference.
Yeah. So like this, all of what you experience or explain, like, is, I think, was like the right way of building confidence. And this relates also, for example, then, how you act with women. Even, I can get there later, but like, like I explained about my past and how just like I don't know what's the good word, just like not not proficient I was, but, and even though I didn't specifically practice something. I didn't practice pickup artistry. I didn't practice, talking to women or anything like specifically in these ways. All I focused for many many years mostly was the like growing Vaha Fitness, building the business, building the our name, and doing the videos, helping other people, like focusing on the work. And then at the same time, while I was focusing on work, of course, my work consisted a lot of training. I was also building the body, like you said, taking care of the body, taking care of the joints, actually just mostly focuses on health and performance. And like I've many times said, I sacrificed the muscular thing, many, many years ago already. Like it was just like clear decision for me. My body, it's much more important that it works well. I feel well, good in my body. And I believe that the aesthetics comes from that in any case. But the point is that the way the confidence became, it was not like some a gimmick thing. It was literally I had something in my life that I was pursuing with you. Like we were like building something, and there was a lot of adversities, a lot of stressful moments there. But going through those, and living and interacting with all kinds of people, not just like women, but even men, like clients, like not other trainers, like interacting with the world, building yourself and growing with that. That was the thing that made the huge difference. Because I was like, I remember, when we came back from our travels, then and we settled then in Finland, you know, I was like another person already. And of course, even I'm again another person. But it was that journey, that trip, is what kind of built me and brought a lot of confidence that I could have never achieved by uh, thinking that I can get it through like just like building my muscles. Like it's so narrow way of viewing it in any case. But maybe not, people don't even think that that's the only thing you need. But still, there was the big process that I think was behind my confidence and just getting me into a place where I was much more comfortable with myself and accepting.
I would say the first step for anyone should be to just increase the confidence.
Mm.
And you increase the confidence by doing hard things and overcoming obstacles
Yeah.
and challenges, and actually doing something with
Precisely.
your life. But another thing, of course, confidence is one thing, but of course the attractiveness matters as well.
Mm.
What we believe is that a lot of the attractiveness, it actually comes from health. Like muscle tone is one aspect of it, of course, but even whether you're man or woman, you can be immensely attractive, whether you have lots of muscle mass or little muscle mass. Like it doesn't actually, like the muscle mass is actually not even such a big factor. But what actually matters is the health of your body, like whether you have good posture, whether you have good skin, whether you have like a clear hair and clear like eyes and clean mouth and teeth and healthy everything, like, and you achieve this by minimizing the inflammation and by just focusing on the health. And what we do with our training is that our training is like the first purpose is health. And this way, and because of this, I think how we train is one of the best ways to become actually attractive in like the absolute, like in the fundamental terms, because you just become like a better individual. And when I think of like people who I have found attractive in the past or now, it's just usually just healthy people, and they can be like big or small, tall or short. It doesn't matter as long as they're just very healthy. Then they are usually attractive. And when it comes to like their health, it's also like the body fat percentage should be rather low actually. Then you will look your best. Like most men and women, they are not actually ugly. They're just not healthy enough. Like if they were to just lower their like the body fat percentage, get rid of bloating and get clear skin and good posture, suddenly most people would look pretty good actually.
Yeah, it's such a simple thing to say it like that way, but yeah, it takes a more, I guess, true transformation, because you really need to start to like value yourself. I think on a deeper level, because you like the fact that you really take care of yourself means that you like actually care about yourself to an extent. And I think here's a funny factor also, that because we talk about doing things for yourself, but attractiveness is also partly it's selflessness, I guess, because
I'm sorry, what?
Selfless.
Selflessness.
Or selfless, just selfless. So
Selfless.
it means that you're not doing it to yourself, right? It's paradoxical, because we talk about you don't do the validation or do things for yourself, but a lot of, I think, the attractiveness is not bad, like if you're doing it for yourself, but because if I'm thinking about that sometimes maybe I take a shower and put the deodorant, I do it for other people because I think it's good to do it that for other people, like it, just because I want that people are more comfortable around me, if I'm clean. Like it's not even there's a certain aspect of that is not how to say, like, because we think that, or now we can think that taking care of yourself and do this vanity stuff, that is selfish, but actually you're doing it for other people. It's kind of odd also.
Yeah, it depends on whether you are doing the things for the benefit of others or whether you're doing it to gain validation from others.
That's the difference, yeah. Because yeah, it makes sense actually. That's a big difference, because so if I'm just grooming myself and to get acceptance, or if I'm grooming myself, attention, acceptance, and all this, or if I take care of myself so that I'll just be more, well, there's also like if I'm more pleasant to other people, is that acceptance or whatever? But it's still a different mindset. There is
the underlying motivation is different.
It's more like by taking care of myself, I want to kind of serve other people to an extent, and that's maybe how I would say it. So because if I'm in better shape and I'm more healthier and so on, I can also work better even in the society and interact with people better in I think in all aspects.
Yeah, I would actually say, because it's like having the cup full, and it's so full that it's like goes over, and then you can give to others as well. And actually, that's one of the best ways, because when you feel like something is lacking inside of you, like whether it's, well, I don't know what it is, but you have this scarcity mentality. So you're always trying to get something from others, and this is very unattractive. It doesn't matter who you are, or what age or gender or your background. Like it's very attractive when you have this very ego mindset and scarcity mindset, where you're always trying to like get something from others. Whereas when you have this abundance mindset, where you're like just like you are not giving others because you want to get something, you just want to give to others.
Yeah.
And then like people like this are actually extremely attractive.
Actually, yeah, because it's not like you are asking something in return, or even asking that the asking, demanding that the other person will like your something, but you just give a good impression of yourself because it's like a good thing to to do, and you just want to give a better feeling to the other person. I think that is a part of it, and not so that you give the better feeling so that you expect the other person even to do something, maybe in the ideal case. But um, I think maybe going back to what you said about our training, so that is kind of one of the ways through which you can reach this kind of attractiveness, because we think that it is the health, it is this like a holistic, uh, how to say, like a holistically working body that
And holistically healthy as well.
holistically healthy. Yeah, exactly. And I think that's the case because we the training is how what we did. Like this is how we overcame that sort of ego of the this, I'd say, like more negative, like negative attraction, like trying to really gain that validation. Like we surpassed that, and our training reflects that. It is the exact training that we have also like improved our health and become more attractive. Not even specifically aiming for it, but it just happens, I think, as a result.
And I would even say that you cannot even be mentally healthy, and you cannot even have healthy worldview or the interactions with others unless you're physically healthy. Because all this toxicity in your body and all this crap, like all this, like it comes from your body actually. Like when you have like very negative and bad lifestyle habits,
Mm.
and you are like abusing the body, in many ways you will also have very negative and abusive mindset as well. Like I've noticed this like almost directly. Like the more healthier I become inside, the more healthier my mind becomes. And when I'm in this healthy state, I treat everyone else much better, and I treat myself very well. I treat others very well. But let's say when if I'm sick or I'm feeling very bad, I can I then suddenly this scarcity mentality comes in my head, and I start to treat others bad and like this. So that's why health is like it's of super importance to actually have the healthy mindset and healthy relationships as well.
Yeah, that's well said, because the physical and the mental, or the physical and the spiritual, they really kind of go hand in hand to a great extent.
Yeah, because actually in ancient history, there was no like a separation between spiritual health and actual health. Like it was the one thing, and it's actually and in reality, there's no spiritual health, there's no mental health, and there's no physical health. It's all one thing.
All one health.
Yeah, one health.
Yeah, because that goes to, again, the other part of attraction. We talk about like attraction. You have the physical side, the looks, the kind of, you can say, the superficial side, and then you have the mental aspect of how you see yourself. That is one part of, and then like we can go to the third aspect, is how you treat other people. Like that can, if you treat some other person really well, you're warm, you're kind, you're generous. Like, how much of a big impact does that make in how attractive you actually are, instead of just how you see yourself or how you look like? It's another aspect, and big aspect of being attractive, that it goes, of course, it's not the same as the training to look better, but this, it, like you said, it's related, because if you are healthier, if you are fitter, I think you have a better capacity to treat others also better, and others with respect.
And I would say like one of the most maybe toxic and negative habits that can destroy your attractiveness and can destroy your like relationships as well. It's the adult entertainment. Like for example, me and Eero, we haven't watched any of this stuff for over 7 years, and it has massively like benefited and improved our lives and relationships, because the problem with when people like there's like some statistics that maybe like 90% or 95% of men watch like corn regularly like
Corn porn.
yeah, corn or porn regularly, let's say like every day or 2 times per week or something like this. So there's only 5% of men that do not. And the problem with this is that because it's fundamentally it's like dopamine addiction. And when it's like an addiction, the the your the sexuality and the other person becomes your source of the drug. So you get high because of the other person, and this creates the in many ways this creates the scarcity mentality in your life, because you see, let's say you're a man who watches like porn very regularly and is addicted and cannot stop and like this, then every woman is like a drug dealer. Because every woman is like something, like you want something from every woman you come across.
Yeah.
But and that's not healthy, because nobody actually likes people like this. And people who have this addiction, they have to fake it. Like they see it like the woman is some kind of enemy or some kind of like a object. They
Yeah.
have to kind of fake it to get their like the drug.
Fake it.
They have to be like they have
At
to
the interaction, you
yeah
mean?
in the interaction they have to lie and mislead and fake their actual intentions, because they're so obsessed with the end outcome, which is the sex. So
Yeah, not with the person. It doesn't
yeah,
matter.
they don't care. Like the person is secondary and the interaction is secondary. Like when I'm interacting with a woman, I have like I'm not trying to get anywhere. All becomes naturally. Like it's as when there are two persons, like a man and a woman, and they're in the same room and they get along and they interact with each other. It's like a natural consequence of just being in the flow. But the thing is that if you're addicted to this this thing, then you are always trying to just get the drug as fast as possible, and then it destroys relationships. It destroys also how you view the other sex, and like you don't see them as like actual human beings. You see them as objects that give you something.
You know, now that you mentioned that, and you know, I was talking about the reasons, for example, why in the like when I was younger, in early 20s, why was I more like insecure and why I had like this kind of anxieties and fears. You know, it was probably a big part of that was pornography. And then looking back, the development, like I explained, okay, the business and all that, but a huge part of also the confidence was that at some point there was the dropping all that stuff away. And it was like, it's probably much bigger of an impact than I can even think, because it allowed me to really, like you explained, you're just naturally having conversations with another person. Like if you're talking to a woman, you know, it's like you're talking to a man or whatever people that you're talking. You're interested in the person you're talking and discussing, and of course there is like can be sexual elements, sexual tension, and you know, flirting and this kind of stuff. But it's not that the I don't know, like you said, this obsession and the drug, and it's not like the what's the word, like the agenda. You know, like I have this like all the time the back of my head, like how does this take me closer to get into the bed and all that. You know, it's not there, and that is a huge like a boost of confidence as well. Not being like addicted to that kind of stuff, and also because you know if you're doing that kind of thing and it is a shady thing to do, you know, you feel shameful probably somewhere in your core, even though you would think that maybe it's okay and it's fine and everyone is doing it. But I think on some level it crumples your psyche or your soul or however you want to.
Yeah, actually, these people who are very addicted to pornography and have like this negative view of like because of this, they usually have the negative view of women, because they feel shame and they don't actually even deep down they don't even like the way they interact and how they are.
Yeah.
So, and that's why they usually try to push women down. They have become like this woman haters, and they always like women are like this and women are like just negative talk everywhere, because they themselves are addicted to this supply, and the same goes to many women, not all but many women as well. Like they can have exactly the same like, and they have so many negative opinions of men and they try to get something from men and like this.
It becomes, you know, instead of like if we talk about like a more healthier relationship or unhealthy relationship, but in these cases, like if you develop this resentment and even hate and all this that you kind of cultivate inside you, you know, the relationship becomes like even sex is then it's like a form of kind of like domination, like you dominate the other person through that, and you kind of you take something from the person through that, instead of sharing just a moment with each other.
Yeah, these people, they always try to get something from the other person without giving anything in return. Like imagine if you had like a friend like this who's always trying to get something from you without giving anything in return. And he's very fake about it. He lies about it. Of course, no one would find this person attractive.
Yeah, in most cases, when they get what they want from you, then they just bounce.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like what kind of like that's yeah. And some people, I think, glorify that also, and twist also that is like a manly thing or something. But that is it's a sick way, I think.
Yeah,
it's quite a twisted way, actually.
And the sad thing is that actually, I would say a lot of advice online about dating and relationships, it's very toxic, and it's always like generalizing, like women are this and men are this, and I'm like, and they talk about like men want this and men want this, and I'm like, I don't want this. Like, who are they talking about? Like, because like even when they talk about men, it's not always like this. They talk about these addicted men who want this. Like, but if you're not in this 95% of men who are addicted to pornography, then it's like a different kind of person altogether.
It becomes biased very easily, and there is like even when I talk about things, I can in a way I can just talk about my own experience and own perspective, but like that's the also thing that you need to really trust in what you experience, because I might experience something that works with a woman, and another person is like, no, and then I'm like, well, what, like maybe then I just stop. But you need to trust that, but the bias is in that the people who are on this road, they maybe use some questionable, maybe questionable and what is that, dishonest ways of communication. There may be some manipulation, and you are sending a message to the world when you're doing these type of things. And people must understand that what you are fishing with, you're kind of getting. So you have a certain like a bait that attracts certain kinds of fishes, and then would you attract the certain like fishes into your life. This is also I'm rambling, but this is so important about the attraction. You always attract something. Even when you're like not maybe universally attracted, but you attract something into your life with your actions. So you're bringing certain kind of people into your life, and then you think that because these are the people that you attract, these are all the people are out there, and you make this rule that this is now the reality of life and this is how everything works. But whereas in reality there maybe are the most of the people out there are not even act completely differently.
Yeah, exactly. Like you attract who you are.
Yeah, that's the simple way to put it, I suppose.
Yeah. And because I've met like I've met women who say, let's say, like all men cheat.
Yeah.
And then it's like, but in her reality, it's like, because I could even see like this girl would cheat. So,
the girl herself.
So she thinks every man cheats, so she should cheat as well. But
that's how it works.
But in her reality, in her bubble of men and women, everyone is like this. But then when you are like this another bubble, like nobody does it. It can be like totally the opposite, because you cannot actually generalize. But like you said, what people do is that they live in this little bubble, and because of your energy and what you attract, every person in this bubble is like you. Like it's like a scamming, manipulating son of a bitch. So everyone is like this. So you start to generalize after maybe you have 20 different interactions with different people. You start to generalize like people are like this, but it's only because
you make it very quickly.
Yeah, because you start to generalize and you start to think like this is the actual truth. But in reality, let's say, like I could see it from like a mile away what kind of person someone is, and I would just not even interact with this person. So because usually the healthy people, they don't interact with the unhealthy people.
Yeah,
because and if they do, there's usually conflicts very fast. Like it's like because a healthy person have like very good boundaries and healthy boundaries and self-respect, and and he or she would not even tolerate the behavior
Mm.
for very long, so it doesn't even last very long.
Yeah, I think the issue nowadays is that, you know, even I had the kind of journey of, you know, creating own boundaries, because a lot of people, they don't have these like strict, they don't have strong values, they don't have strict moral codes, they don't have religion, they don't have anything to really like guide them, you know. And if someone comes who is, you know, with kind of like this thought, like alternative motives in the back of their head, it's not always that you notice it immediately, and you know, also that takes sometimes experience. Maybe you can sense the vibe quickly, maybe, but you know, sometimes these people are the best at
Chameleons.
like they're chameleons, and they're good. Like if I want to make this division between like short-term attraction and the long-term attraction, because you said, you know, at some point there's become the conflict. But in the short term, you might be very attracted. You know, especially if a person is like a proper, like a narcissist. He, you know, there's even the term of like love bombing. Like they can be amazing. You know, in the beginning, you're like, wow, you know, this is my dream person, and
these kind of people, they also focus almost solely on the appearance and all these different factors that make them attractive. So
yes,
they're very easy to find attractive.
they're very easy to find, exactly, and they can be charismatic. You know, and even
fun.
And they can have fun, and they can even appear as if they really care about you, and they can be even like protective and all that. But the crazy thing is, you know, if you have a normal person and he's doing this, usually that this would still continue, like, you know, the good behavior and all that. It's like it doesn't change. But if you have a person who fakes it and who has these motives, or who is maybe a narcissist or some other, you know, mental disorders, there's like it happens this kind of a is it like a flipping happens at some point, and then you realize what this guy really is. You know, there's like that's like a switch goes on and off with these persons. But yeah, the point here, you know, there is this, you may be attracted, or you attract people, you know, by on the short term. Maybe you have like managed to make yourself, groom yourself to be attractive, like, oh, that looks good, and you get together. But then when it comes to building like a long-term relationship, it just doesn't, you know, work, because maybe you know, like you tried to be something that you were not, or something like this. Or maybe you never wanted a long-term relationship. That's also possible.
Yeah, and the thing, because we are like in our training, we are like there's like an ego way, and then there's the like ego free, like very humble way. And the same actually applies to relationships as well, because I have had some like good and bad relationships over the years. And Eero is actually married. He has been with this girl for 4 years or something.
4.5.
Yeah, almost 5 years. And even in like relationships, there's always like a ego-free way to do things, and then there's the ego way to do things. And let's say maybe there's like a argument, and no, not an argument, but let's say there's something bothering you about the other person, and the most common way is to start, you know, complaining and criticizing the other person, like, why you do this, why you never do this, and why you did that, and here's a problem, blah blah blah. It's like a very like aggressive, and like you're almost like an attacking the other person.
Yeah.
And this is the most common way, actually, I think. And it almost never produces good results, because the other person becomes defensive. Actually it's not even about the other person. The other person is just doing what he's doing or she's doing. She's just being himself many times. It's actually always about you, but you just try to move the blame from yourself to the other person. But of course, the other person is causing it, but it's actually you are the reason. And the humble way and the ego-free way is to always think that and start the conversation in a way that I feel this bothers me, and when you do this, I feel like this.
Yeah.
And it's very like it's you first just portray how you feel, and then why it happens, and then the other person is almost always like very receptive and very understanding, and the thing can be actually fixed. But if the only way to try to fix the problems in a relationship is complaining, criticism, and nagging, it almost never works.
No, so this is the interesting thing. The example. If you even mention you have an argument. If you mention that you have an argument in the family, like between man and a wife, what do people think as an argument? It is yelling. Like that's the example that even I got. Like when I was a kid, if I saw people having an argument, it was yelling. Like that was argument. You
Yeah.
you put out the insults, and you're like raising your voice, and you are aggressive, and you are like throwing all kinds of shady bad stuff to the other person. Like that's how people think it's an argument. So I think that is a form of an argument, but it's very low level, like impulsive argument. The thing, like if I have, for example, an argument with my wife, is there can be impulsiveness inside me, things that I'd like to say in the moment, but like I am, even to my own detriment. Sometimes I'm not like a person who likes to have a conflict, right? But I become more like an analyzing person, and I'm very lucky that also my wife is a person who's able to think things through, and she's done a lot of like work with herself as well, and analyzing herself and her behavior and her past, where it's just like psychologically in a way. But so the you cannot like you probably in the moment, if there's an argument, there's a conflict, maybe you feel that you are offended or something like this, right? I find that for me, if I can't control myself in the situation, and I can't produce anything constructive that would help the issue to go away, I usually go to somewhere, spend time alone, and then I will think things through. And there still can be emotion, but I'm thinking, I need to go through like, okay, let's say if I was offended, was there really a reason? Was there a good reason that I was offended? If I was offended, did I somehow contribute to that? Did I contribute to the behavior of for example, my wife or something? So I need to do like this analysis in my head, going by myself. But I think that's a good way, because then I can at least get to the level where I have something smart to say, and something something my thoughts are like collected, and I have something where I can bring them to the table, even if there is still emotion. Maybe you still feel hurt. It's like it's fine, but you need to have this certain level of like self-control. And I wouldn't say that you always need to blame yourself, but you need to see that if it is your fault, you can kind of figure it out already to an extent by yourself. But if it's not your fault, then you can also find, like you said, you find the way to tell to the other person, okay, this is how I felt, and I think I was rightfully offended. You did this thing, like that way. You can at least have a conversation about it. You don't even need to be right. You can even tell that you blame her, even if it's like not your, or even if it's your fault. But you need to bring those to the table and be able to change your opinion about it. Like it's just I think the communication and practicing that over and over again, like that is an important part of the relationship in general.
and and this is also like very ego-free and very humble way to be able to see things from two different perspectives.
Yeah.
Because in many ways, in many relationships, sometimes it's just one way and one way. It's like ego against ego, and it's the one person trying to find the fault in another person, and another person trying to fault in the other person. And actually, to have like a relationship, you always have to be able to think from two perspectives, and then take responsibility. Like this very mature way to actually deal with conflict and arguments.
Yeah,
and,
it is.
And also, the restraint is super important, because if you always say what you feel, then because sometimes you feel like very bad things.
Yes.
Especially in the heat of the argument.
Yeah.
And you should never go over the line.
Yeah, and when you get to it, your mind can make up the most twisted accusations that have no base. Just because you're angry to the person, you start to twist everything around in the person. You're like, she's no good. She's done this and that, and you just like you're so quick to to kind of like I don't know, throw someone like under the bus because you just was hurt. And so the restraint is a good word, control, restraint. Like
I feel like I'm like a competitive person and like a fighter, because if I want to destroy somebody, I will destroy somebody. And and sometimes I'm better than the other person. Not always, but many times I've been the better person in destroying the other person if I had to. So that's why when you live and learn, like you have to have self-restraint, because the goal is not to win. The goal is to have like a good, healthy relationship in a long term. And this is what people forget. It's like the other person is not like somebody you have to win.
Yeah, and it takes practice like anything else. Some people are by nature, they're very impulsive, and they like are very hot-headed, and they immediately like, and I get like that if I'm in a car and I try past the exit, but that's the only occasion that I usually like lose my mind. But when it comes to like the relationship and talking to other people, I can't stress it enough. Like practice this self-control, and the humbleness is a big part of it, because the fact that you accept that you may be the one to blame and you may be the one to make the change, that is humbleness. And it's much easier said than done, especially in the heat of the moment. This is why I said, if you can't like control yourself, go to somewhere where you just be alone and think it through, and like try to think it through in a constructive manner. Like this is something that worked for me. Not that I need to often do it, but if there has been a conflict or something like this, like just practice, and practice the humbleness and understanding that it's okay to make this. Yeah, it's okay to make even mistakes. It's okay to be the blame, because everyone is like that. There's no perfect person. I make mistakes for sure. You make mistakes. In other relationships, the men, even how good you perceive the men, they've all struggled, or the women. The point is that we're all going to struggle, but the way you start to learn to deal with that, that is the major thing.
And the cool thing is that when you build like core confidence from the ground up, you don't even need to act, and you don't have this facade of like this fake anything. Like you can be just yourself, and usually it's okay. But of course, I would say like if you have very bad mood or bad moments, like you should probably be alone. Like it's like, because people think like the other person is for you to puke your feelings.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's just, if you're having really bad day, very bad mood, then it's just better to be alone in many ways.
It's better to be alone, and a lot of the times, if like making this agreement and even the ability to say that you apologize. You'd be surprised how many conflicts you can solve by like being, I did, like recognizing I did something wrong and I apologize, and you can kind of move on. But even this is, long-term relationship, to an extent, it is like the ability to always overcome the ego, because the ego is the issue, that wants to only blame the other person, and you cannot, there's nothing wrong with you ever, and you cannot even say that you're sorry. You cannot admit to any mistakes and all this. I guess you can go to the other extreme also, where you're always like blaming yourself and being then like, I'm always the fault. But I think not too many people maybe do that, but it's also a possibility. But like finding, I guess through this way, the humbleness in what you're doing, and recognizing that it's okay to say that you're sorry, and you can like really deal with a lot of things even that way.
And I would say, I would end this podcast by saying that a lot of this maturity and these healthy ways you will get by getting rid of all these toxic and negative influences, whether it's the adult entertainment or whether it's the very negative dating advice online, or just abusing your body. Just getting rid of all of this bad stuff, you are already like become a much healthier individual, and because of the health of your body, your mind becomes healthy, and you start treating everyone else much better as well.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good way to finish it.
Yes.
All right. Take care. Stay strong.